Good evening, Chris. I was just looking at the verse in Hebrews 9:27.
Okay, Hebrews 9:27 says, "And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment."
Yes, I'm assuming that's spiritual death. And if so, why would God appoint man to die spiritually?
Well, I haven't really looked at this verse as much as the previous verse, but we do know that right from the beginning God said, "Thou shalt not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The day you eat thereof, you will surely die." Or dying, you will die. Actually, the word die is doubled in that verse. And we know that when they ate, they did die in their soul. And from that point forward, all human beings were conceived in sin and born with dead souls, because a clean could not come from an unclean. Only if God did a work of salvation on a child in the womb like John the Baptist could someone be born with a living soul. And so God had already judged man for his rebellion, for his sin, by bringing death to his soul, but God also had set another judgment, a final judgment, an official judgment at the end of the world. But there would be many unsaved people over the course of history that would live and die long before they reached that final judgment period. And so they would live their lives with already dead souls because of original sin, and that's how they came forth, just like their parents. But they would have life in their physical body, and then they would die because of sin in the body, and they would go and be no more, because what makes a human being is body and soul. And so since they were already dead in soul and then died in body, that was another judgment upon them. At the point of death, they ceased to have conscious existence, although what was left of their body would still be on the earth somewhere, scattered maybe in various parts, but still the pieces of their body would still be on the earth until that official judgment that we're in right now. We're in the time of the official final judgment of mankind, which starts out as a spiritual judgment over the course of what the biblical evidence is pointing to of 23 inclusive years. And then on the very last day, there is a complete destruction of the entire creation, including all the unsaved, and that will destroy the particles, the remains of the physical body of all those that have ever come before. And so they, as it says, it's appointed unto men once to die. They did die. After this, the judgment. So they still have to be destroyed. They have to be ultimately, totally, completely destroyed, annihilated out of existence. And that is the judgment of God, the final judgment. And so every unsaved individual experiences that judgment, whether they're unsaved and still alive in their physical bodies on that last day, or whether they recently died and their bodies are intact in grave, or whether they died 5,000 years ago, or even before the flood. And again, who knows where their bodies are, but the utter destruction of all things will destroy any part of that body, and therefore that is the judgment.